Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Venus making a square in conjunct or opposition to the natal ascendant. Well, anyway, people, first thing I want to get at, when you have this transit, there can be some difficulty in expressing or conveying feelings of love to others. Uh, this could be time too where you might not see yourself as physically attractive as maybe you ordinarily do. And the thing about it is it could impact, you might have low feelings of self-worth and self-esteem, and this could impact how you act to others. You might seem exasperated, and it can come out in the way you might treat someone. The reality is it might just have to do with maybe your own feelings of insecurity connected with self-worth or self-esteem at this particular time, rather than the person really doing anything that should have upset you. So it's something to look at as far as this transit goes. This transit can indicate perhaps relationships might be more contentious or even adversarial than usual. It's probably not the best time for a reconciliation. Say if the situation between you and a significant other or even an important friendship was not going great and you have this transit, it's probably best to hold off until the transit actually passes in terms of trying to reconcile or make peace with someone. So another thing too, you probably yourself might not be really, as far as your disposition, perhaps not as charming as usual, not as diplomatic about things. You may come across as a little bit more abrasive because of this. There is also, when you have this this transit too, keep in mind that Venus is about enjoyment, and really when you have this transit, it could really indicate that you might not really be in a time at this time in transit where you really are having much enjoyment with things. Thing about it too is it's a very strong conflict of energy. I mean, let's say that you have a transit transit Venus in Leo making a square to a Taurus ascendant. Well, the thing about Venus in Leo, that energy could, you might want to be more extravagant. This is more extravagant energy and spending more on things, where Taurus rising can be just the exact opposite, really, and because Taurus is about really being more frugal and not as inclined to spend an exorbitant amount of money on things. And Venus in Leo too can be about love of extroversion and attention and receiving attention, while Taurus rising is generally not so much about that. Their enjoyment is more connected with often things connected with domestic interests and perhaps even a creature comfort. So you're going to have that conflicting energy, which can cause some tension and cause some exasperation. Now, the thing too is uh, the first house, the ascendant, of course, represents our outlook on life, and it could be a time where Venus being associated with relationships, it's somebody in a relationship with you, whether it's a significant other or it could even be an important friendship, may be opposed to maybe the way you're acting or your general outlook or the outer characteristics that you're basically projecting at this point in time. If you're somebody, say, that is single and you're unattached and you don't have that significant other, well, this might not be the best time to try to find someone because, keep in mind, the first house the ascendant is about the appearance, the physical body. And this is not to say that you're really going to be really literally less attractive at this time when you have this transit as opposed to when you don't. but you might, as far as the perception may be, you might not be seen as attractive during these transits. So let's say you're single and unattached, you don't have a significant other, and you're even trying online dating. It might just not go well for you during this particular time. It's probably better to wait until at least those transits pass. So anyway, another thing to look at too, let's say you have this making the inconjunct aspect to your ascendant. Let's say that transit Venus is in your 6th house and it makes an inconjunct to your ascendant. Well, this could manifest in a number of ways. The thing is, it could indicate, I mean, Venus is over the throat and the neck, and it could indicate maybe some health issue during that time associated with it. It could also, I mean, because inconjuncts can be about health issues, and then if you have the transiting planet in the 6th house, it's a little bit of a double whammy, I'd say. So, and also, even if it opposes the ascendant in the 6th house, this could indicate some health issues as well, and perhaps something Venus related, such as the throat or the neck, or even perhaps even in some isolated cases, even a kidney issue, which would be more extreme, of course. Now, another thing too is another way this can manifest. Keep in mind the 6th house is associated with the zodiac sign Virgo. And there might, in Venus being relationships, I mean, it could indicate that you may have somebody you're in a relationship with may be debilitated at this time, and you might it might cause some worry on your part, which of course can lead perhaps to even maybe a physical problem with yourself as well, because keep in mind the 1st house is the physical body, and it is and it also rules the vitality. I mean, it could, worrying, of course, can always can lead to some sleep deprivation, and of course could lead to less vitality. So those are some things to look at as far as this transit goes. And let's say you have Gemini rising and you have Venus, transit Venus making an inconjunct to your ascendant from the 6th, or even an opposition. If we're talking about the worrying thing, and Gemini rising could be fairly restless as far as their personality goes, and they might, well, I would think a lot of Gemini rising people sleep likely below the average amount of sleep, given the restless nature of the sign. And if you have this transit on top of it, you could even be getting, I mean, it's really like getting a lot, even less sleep than in what the person is accustomed to getting. So I think with the inconjunct to fixed ascendants, which don't have that propensity to worry as much, it might not quite have the same impact, but there still might be a little bit more worrying than usual. So of course that could lead to a physical problem. So that's basically what that transit in the 6th can be about. And also too, when you have transit Venus making a square opposition or even an inconjunct to your ascendant, you might feel a little bit more lethargic during this time and more apathetic in regards to working. You might not really have that get up and go as much as you ordinarily do. And another thing too, keep in mind that Venus also governs money. So if you're trying to acquire some funds and you really, and like say you got the transit and it's square from the 4th house, trying to get say you're trying to get a home loan, that might not be the most opportune time to do so. If you got it, say the transit is from your 6th house and you're trying to get some cash in advance, say from an employer, it may not be the best time to get that as well, because it could show a stumbling block between you and funds. Now, if you're somebody, of course, that's very affluent and prosperous and has an abundance of money and income, it may not impact you as much, but at the same time, it could still indicate that there might be funds that you're still trying to get and acquire that you might have some difficulty getting. So anyway, people, That'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for the transit Venus making a square, inconjunct, or opposition to the natal ascendant. Stay tuned next time where I'll be talking about transit Mars making a conjunction to the natal ascendant. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.